Ladies and gentlemen, the next session for the day is Mjafi Oration. Since its inception in 2019, the Mjafi Oration has served as a prestigious platform for esteemed scholars to impart their knowledge and expertise. Today, we are privileged to witness the 7th edition of Mjafi Oration, and we eagerly anticipate another distinguished and enlightening address. May I please invite on stage the chairperson for this session, Lieutenant General Vineet Sharma, Ati Vishisht Seva Medal, Director General Dental Services and Colonel Commandant Army Dental Corps, and the co-chair, Air Vice Marshal Anupam Agarwal, Vishisht Seva Medal, Assistant Chief of Air Staff, Medical. I now request the chairpersons to kindly take over the proceedings.
A very good morning to all delegates and guests. As we begin with the Mjafi Oration, my mind goes back to the 80s and 90s when the medicine field and the engineering field were like tramlines which only met at the distant hypothetical horizon. And cut to 2024, and we have a medicine degree being dispensed by IIT Kharagpur and the Faculty of Medical Sciences functioning out of IIT Bombay. So it's a long and a huge leap for the field, and the field is biomedical engineering, and which is the Karam Bhumi for the guest speaker for today's Mjafi Oration, Professor Rohit Srivastava. On behalf of the 73rd Armedicon, it is my proud privilege to welcome Professor Rohit Srivastava to deliver the Mjafi Oration. Professor Srivastava is currently the Himanshu Patel Chair and Professor in the Department of BSBE, which is Biomedical Sciences and Biomedical Engineering at IIT Bombay. He has a Biomedical Engineering MS and a doctorate from the Louisiana Tech University. Apart from his huge accomplishments, which have come over the last decade, 2 decades and a half, what sets him apart from all researchers, innovators, and academicians is that his heart beats for the country before everything else. And his core area of interest is the translational research, which is socially relevant. So without further ado, I'll request Professor Srivastava to commence his talk.
So while it's coming up, thank you, Chair and Co-Chair. A warm welcome to all of you. Before I begin, let me first of all thank Admiral Aarti Sareen, Madam. Thank you very much, ma'am, for the invite here. Thank you to Lieutenant General Thereja and Colonel Vivek Agrawal for the invite for this oration. I consider this an honor to be able to speak in front of all of you. I joined IIT Bombay about 20 years back after completing my PhD and coming back to India on the same day that I finished my PhD and got my degree. I did not stay one extra day in the US because I wanted to come back and do something for India. So let me begin by this talk by talking about tech-enabled affordable healthcare, which our lab has been doing for the past 20 years now. And we've become the foremost lab in the country in terms of translating products. Again, a reason I came to this place was one, because I wanted to enthuse the undergraduate students to start thinking translation. Medicine you already do. How do you now combine medicine with engineering and come up with a technology that has impact? The other is, I wanted to also show that IIT Bombay has the perfect ecosystem for the medical needs that arise in a place like this that can actually go on to become a product. So with that, a warm welcome again to all of you. I come from IIT Bombay. There are several science departments, several engineering departments. Many of you may not be aware, but the engineering departments are all, of course, closely connected. They're all giving degrees, UG degrees as well as PG degrees now in several disciplines. And you see that out here. Again, one reason I put these in blocks is because I wanted you to see that you have to work together with these engineering and science departments if you have to make an impact. But just working together with these engineering and science departments does not give you the output that you would require. You then want inputs from medical colleges, you want inputs from hospitals, you want inputs from other engineering colleges because you may or may not have everything with you. You also want inputs from incubators, you want inputs from R&D laboratories, and we work very closely with all of them. I'll show you the way we've created this impact. Once you do that, then how do you then work on a need, a clinical need, and then translate that into a product? For that, you require the part which is shown in the center, which is now bringing these engineering and science disciplines together, all these various stakeholders together, giving them the platform that few of the IITs now have, not all of them, but IIT Bombay is the forefront of translation in the country, where you now give them that platform that they can use this to take their products forward using these sort of medtech ecosystem that is there. And we'll talk a little bit more. Important thing to understand is in the end, you're now creating these indigenous products, you're creating high value jobs, and we've been able to do all of that. And we've been able to create affordable healthcare technologies. So with that, no need to tell many of you the need. We know the challenges that the country faces. I want you to focus only on that small circle in the center there. Most of us are not aware that we spend very little, India spends very little per year, per patient on medical expenses. But most importantly, of that, 70% is private spending, 30% is public spending. And these are facts which are out there in the literature. It's there because we are being compared to other countries. How do we get around this problem? There are these solutions. And even today, if you look at the healthcare ecosystem in the country, we are still importing 80% of medical devices. When I started out 20 years back, it was 90%. Today, it is 80%. When I started out in 20 years back, there were 5 healthcare startups. Today, there are 10,000 healthcare startups. So that's the difference that these startups and the technologies have made to this country. Now, with that sort of very small background, I don't want to spend too much time on that. I wanted you to see that there are these research areas that our lab does. And we've been very successful with this model because we've worked around that bioengineering domain, where we work closely with clinicians, we work closely with engineers, and see how we can use both these expertise to build a product. We've been building many products over the years. The one in this center, you see products that have come out of our lab. And there are several. To name a few, we started out with the first mobile phone-based diagnostic product in the country in 2010. This was when mobile phone was not being used regularly. We already had a mobile phone-based diagnostic product called UCheck. The second was our indigenous glucometer strips, where people selling these glucometer strips in the market at 30 rupees, we were able to bring the prices down to 5 rupees in the Indian market. We went on and on and on. So the circle goes on because you keep creating these products, you keep looking at their impact, and then you keep figuring out what else can you tackle to help India in its path towards self-sustainability. And not being able to getting more imports. So we've now worked in all these fields. We've started out with a very small domain of point of care diagnostics, and then forayed into microfluidics, forayed into IoT-based digital health solutions, forayed into sort of maternal health monitoring, and I'll show you examples from each one of this. Again, my talk is an overview talk in the sense that I'm not putting too much detail in the talk. I want you to see the impact that has come out of such a work. Many awards followed. The country is proud of people who work for the country, and who better than you to understand that? And I have seen that this has happened. The effort that we put into making these products gave us every award in the country. Over the last 20 years, everything that was there has come to us, not to me personally, to IIT Bombay, to my students. And when you get recognized, you start thinking, how do you make this bigger and bigger and bigger? How does that circle become bigger? And now we've got products that I'm going to show you. These are not even there. The products that I'm going to show you are not even there in the circle. The circle is, for the last sort of 15 years. What has happened in the last 3 or 4 years that has made this circle bigger and continues adding products to the economy? So we've had many student startups. Now, the reason I started out with my first slide of showing you the ecosystem is that you have two ways of doing this. One is you let your students build startups, and that's what I'm here to enthuse you. Being a doctor, and I've trained many doctors with me over the last 15 years, many of these MBBS students have come and done a PhD with us at IIT Bombay, with my lab. They've gone on to become successful entrepreneurs. They've not left their medicine background. They've possibly left a little bit of their clinical practice, but they've gone on to use that medical knowledge to become entrepreneurs. And many examples are there. The first one is, of course, this Biosense Technologies. Two doctors, both of them MBBS doctors, set up this company. They did masters in my lab, and this is just an MTech from IIT Bombay. Went on to create products that have reached the market, created an impact. That company has then been taken over by another big company, Tulip Diagnostics, and finally by PerkinElmer. There are products there. You see one of the products there, which is an anemia screening tool. Using the hemoglobin, using the conjunctiva of the eye, we can tell you hemoglobin levels at plus minus 0.5 gram per deciliter. Imagine the impact of such a technology. And this is how technology comes into play. The medical need comes from you, but how do you translate that medical need into a technology? And we are using what old doctors used to do. Just look at the conjunctiva and give you a number, which would then come into a blood test the next day. And this is exactly the way that technology should work. We've also made these other products. They're very successful, of course. A second company which is doing very well and is already valued at more than 150 crores in the Indian market today is Neodox. Again, started out with a group of undergraduate students in my lab who went on to create these products. And the product is a very simple product. It's just a 10, 12, 14 parameter dipstick, which you use routinely for urine analysis. How do you make that smart? Can you now use these at home? Take an image of that, upload that image so that it gets analyzed in the cloud, and the data is then shared with both the patient as well as the clinician. We've been able to do that. And the students company are now making us a second tool, which is using 1 drop, 10 microliters of blood, connected to a mobile phone. It can actually give you accurate hemoglobin levels. And this has already reached the market now. So again, impact creation. Third company called Doto Health. And this is initially started out with a student doing a PhD in my lab. Today, this student has gone on to set up his second company, started out with Care NX. Doto Health is the second company. This looks at fetal heart rate and fetal monitoring and maternal care. And this is a technology which has now reached several hospitals in India. And we are closely working with AFMC on several projects with the company and IIT Bombay to validate more such products so that they also reach the market. But you see the impact. They've not just been in India, they've gone to several other countries. And a second product of that is this Care Mother platform, which I'm sure many of you would be aware of. If not, please do look it up. It's already there in the market. The company actually supplies to several hospitals in the country, as well as exports outside India. But important thing to understand here is look at the impact. They've already done about 1.5 million women, screened these for high-risk pregnancies, and made an impact in this space. This is how we, sitting in IIT, in a technology institute, can work closely with clinicians like you and see how we can take such technologies to the ground level and actually make an impact. But somewhere around that time, I started thinking that, but this is all that my students are doing. Can I do something different? Can I now start thinking as an entrepreneur? I've always thought myself to be a trainer, to be, an advisor to these companies. I hold advisory shares in all these companies and possibly, paper values running into, tens of crores, but that doesn't give me any satisfaction. Satisfaction I get is these products reaching, where they need to reach, the remote corners of this country, places where they are really needed. So I started setting up my startups. And I'm the only person in this country today having being a co-founder in 10 startups. The country allows this to happen. This is what I love about India. They don't bind you to anything. They actually want you to flourish. They want you to grow. They want you to do and keep working for India. So many startups, and I'm going to show you these as slides, just single slides, just to give you an impact that we've been able to create. We started out with bone tissue engineering. We made these, bone graft materials that you see on the right-hand side, on your left-hand side, and the bone screws that you see on your right-hand side. Both are indigenous materials made in IIT Bombay at scale, now being funded by a pharma company, which has already valued this company at about 50 crores. But most importantly, we are now completing our phase 3 trials at AIIMS New Delhi and proving that this product is better than what we currently import in the country. So we've created a value chain for this. The screw we'll take as the second product. We've already filed patents, got it accepted, in several countries, not just India. And we believe that this technology is better than the Smith & Nephew or the Stryker or whichever company screws are currently being used in this country. All the HL and the HA screws that are currently being used. These are all biodegradable. We went on to create our second company, which is looking at diagnostics. And this is taking just one technology out there, which is glycated albumin. We've all heard of glucose. We've all heard of HbA1c. Many of us may have heard of glycated albumin. Of course, all the internal medicine people and everybody aware. But glycated albumin is my 3-week marker for diabetes. The HbA1c cannot be used in many conditions. And there are many of these conditions where you need that third marker. It's already being commercialized in Japan, in Europe. Why not in India? And we've made an assay and a device which now is being tested at several hospitals in India. Of course, we start out with the 2 major hospitals in Mumbai, which is Sion and KEM. We do our validation at these hospitals. Once we find that our results are in sync with, what the current values are there using the hospital, product, then we do a multi-centric trial. But then that happens through a company, because unless you get approvals for this, this is not going into manufacturing license. But any product like this, I always have a clinician who's working with me as an advisor to the company. And that's how we gain from their experience. We as engineers will only have a very small role to play. It's you as clinicians who actually give us all the inputs. Our third company called Polytrack. Now you see a product there, it's actual product image, which is using lateral flow immunoassays and fluorescent immunoassays. I can now do thyroid markers, I can do troponin cardiac markers, I can do A1C. And I can do that at point of care using 1 drop of blood. And I can do that as accurately as your hospital data. So if I can do all that, can that now these be deployed in tier 2, tier 3 cities? See, looking at tier 1 cities, I don't think there is need for any of these point of care devices. But India is primarily in the rural area. 70% of us still live in the rural population. So can I now use these for gaining traction in the remote corners of India? We've already commercialized this product now, and the company is valued at $10 million. Day one, we are valued at 10 million. Why? Because there are pharma companies who are willing to put money into a technology that they can now sync with their drugs and then start selling this in the market. We've got another product now, which is call check. We've made all these, trade names for it because it actually helps us keep it apart from the general stream. Call check, using 1 drop of blood, I can tell you total cholesterol, HDL, LDL, and triglycerides. And this is as accurate as anything out there. So we've tested it. We've just finished the clinical studies at Sion Hospital, got good data, submitting this data to CDSCO for manufacturing license. We already have a test license. Once that is approved, we get, and we've already got funded from a company who wants to take this forward. Of course, our company is just a small startup, but then you need funding, you need support, you need an ecosystem to actually take it forward. And that's what IIT Bombay offers us, the opportunity to get these large funding. We've also set up another startup in pain management. Many of you are aware. And of course, pain is something that's not going away. After COVID, it's going to stay. Many types of pain we are targeting, chronic and pain, which, people preferably use over-the-counter drugs and patches. Can we now replace all these passive delivery patches with these active delivery ones using microneedles? And we've actually put them in microneedles. We've started doing our validation, and we are getting good data. Of course, it will take time because this is going to take you 3 to 5 years, 3 years possibly, before it sees the light of day. But can we think, ahead of time before these large companies in Singapore, in China, in Japan actually come out with products? So that's the reason why we've picked up these products. Many of these people you see on the left side of your screen are students who have gone on to become entrepreneurs from my lab. And I encourage these students. I say, can you now hold, especially if they are women, I give them 51% in this startup. No other professor in the country does that. No other person in the world does that, because they would like to keep everything to themselves. My goal is to make sure that these people also grow as the company grows and we get more and more products in the market. We've also set up a company in fertility management, and this is male infertility. Remember, this is an area which not many people talk about. Female infertility, again, people talk about, people actually have products out there. Male infertility, very few people talk about. Can we think of a gel which can hyperactivate the sperms before they are used in an IVF procedure? And we've got traction for this because the data that we are seeing is better than what IVF clinics are currently giving you. They guarantee you 40 to 45% sort of success. We'll guarantee 90% success. Day one, there's a Singapore-based company that's willing to put money in this company. Why? Because Singapore is facing similar issues and no one is tackling these issues. But before I even go to Singapore, India is my market. And that's where I would like these products to come forward. We've also started working. Arnab Ghosh joined my lab about 3 years back. And he worked on several technologies, more than 40 filed patents in 3 years. But what was important is that all these technologies have potential to move forward. This is where I thank ma'am for all the support we've got. Because, if ma'am had not supported us during those days that, this work started at IIT Bombay, none of this would have been possible. And we've got now seeing the end of this journey in the sense that many, many, many products are coming out. And we are seeing a remote healthcare monitoring product that has been developed in IIT Bombay, of course, in collaboration with Indian Navy and Arnab Ghosh. But the fact is that this one product, which can do triaging in ICUs, which can do remote healthcare monitoring for patients, geriatric patients at home, can this be now modeled around several other use case scenarios? And we are seeing such use case scenarios from AFMC where this one product can now have multiple applications. And that's the way to go with current technologies. Of course, we are setting up a startup around that. We've also just won an award for a student award for 50 lakh rupees. And you think that's a small amount of money for a startup, but that's a start for a startup. A 50 lakh rupee grant means that that student can now take what is there and build a prototype. So this is for a product which can do hemoglobin, which can do iron binding, which can do ferritin, all at point of care. Can we do all these three at point of care and then use this product for healthcare analysis in remote locations? Just getting funding for this ionophores company, which is using iontophoretic process, which is using current. You've all possibly heard of reverse iontophoresis for a gluco watch application, which could pull the fluid up and measure the glucose in a watch device. We are using the opposite of that, using current to push the drug into the skin. Huge application. If I can make one product, I can make 50 products. But that first product is what we are targeting for rheumatoid arthritis. Can I now make a smart device, a smart ankle bracelet, which will sit on the patient, and on the press of a button, it will deliver the drug, and the patient doesn't have to do anything? Can we now make it smarter and smarter? So we've got values, we've got inputs from several clinicians. I again request specialties to to actually collaborate with us, because this is an opportunity where we can continue making impact. We've also setting up a company with many of Arnab's products that went on to sort of through the whole process of getting IP granted at IIT Bombay. Can we now set up companies to take many of these technologies to market? The syringe protection device, the syringe, needle cap, needle stick injury prevention device, the Dripto, which is, your IV fluid alarm monitoring device. Many technologies. We'll start off with 5 possibly in this company, and we've already started approaching investors for funding this, because there is technology that is there with us. Can you now get money, get this to market, then move to the next 5 and next 5 and next 5? Our lab currently has at least 30 technologies waiting in the wings. And what I'm showing you, beyond that, I've got 30, which I know can make an impact. We've also started thinking of taking the Nebiro to market. Nebiro is something that Arnab started out before he came to IIT Bombay. Of course, a lot of it has happened over the years, but there is a big aim of combining a spirometer with a delivery device. Can we assess your lung function and then deliver a certain amount of drug and then do an AI monitoring of all that, so that sitting anywhere in the world, a patient can actually get sort of nebulized. And there are use case scenarios of that as well. We've got a mobile application to digitize mandatory sort of logbook entries. Again, we have people who worked with us as biodesign fellows and went on to create such products. This is, of course, this is a app-based product, and it's already out there in the domain. We've also developed a product for Parkinson's disease screening, again through a sort of device and an app-based system, which can actually move forward. Many, I've got 2 AFMC graduates work in my lab and set up companies. So I encourage, many of you to think the same. I encourage you to think the same way, that how do clinicians go on to not just do their regular clinical practice, but also work with technology and take them forward. So you had many technology transfers. Now I'll go a little faster in that sense, 5 more minutes. But technology transfers from our lab, which have been given to industry, because we thought that these are too big, for us to do, but there is still scope in them. So we've transferred some of these technologies, the active wound dressing sort of patch, which will have microneedles as well as have, drug delivery. Can we also look at maxillofacial region? Can we have products for the maxillofacial region, which is loading these gel foam materials that you currently use in your practice, and have antibiotics in them, so that these antibiotics are locally given, they're not systematically given, and plus they have a bigger sort of impact over the next 4 or 5 days. Can we now sustain the release over 4 or 5 days? We've already got a product, and we've started testing the product. Oski is a huge example and a success, which happened because of ma'am's support. And this went on to become a product. It's getting released next month in the Indian healthcare ecosystem. Came out of a work that was from Dr. Arnab's background work, and went on to become a full product out of the company. We've done a lot of iterations, but most importantly, it was tested. It was showcased at several of these events. It was tested, and it was actually made to be tested, with the Honorable Defense Minister. And he was very happy seeing that. Of course, I have videos of that. I'm not going to show you the videos, but it was released in a very big function last year. And hopefully, this year it will see the light of day, in the sense that it has taken us several months to get it validated, to get data, which now looks better than your Littmann stethoscope. It is the world's best stethoscope, and I can proudly say this, with the best sort of app, and at 1/5 the cost of a Littmann. If I can do that sitting in India with your support, what else can't I do? So there are many innovations that are happening between IIT Bombay and AFMC. And the reason I wanted to show this slide was, many of these products that you see coming out of our lab have got genesis behind, Arnab joining our lab, to Arnab graduating, coming to AFMC Pune. many of this work that actually went on to become, are going to become products need to be clinically validated. We've already started some of this with products that are going to be validated at AFMS. But you see many of these here. You see remote RIOS, which is that remote healthcare monitoring system. You see versions of that, which is for fluid monitoring, for urine monitoring. You also see Dripto, you see the OSCE, of course, more and more validation needs to be done to make it stronger and better than the 3M. VitalX, which will look at vital monitoring, in one small platform technology, the syringe cap, the NEBEX, which is on-the-go nebulization. Many products coming out of IIT Bombay with your help. And I need your support to make this bigger, because I come from an engineering institute, remember? And my only goal is to translate that medical need into a product. But how can I make that product better is with your help. So we've got these two projects running with AFMS, and we are still stuck at some approval stage. And I hope these approvals come fast, because there are alumni willing to fund these projects. Labor monitoring device that I showed you in the beginning, and the postpartum depression sort of app and device technology. We've got alumni from IIT Bombay willing to put in millions of dollars in this technology. Money is never a problem for these alumni. Impact is a problem. And impact we can only create when we work closely with your organization, with several other like-minded people, because innovation does not happen alone. Remember that. Sure, we've already got a trial planned with AFMC, but it is stuck at some stages. I'm giving you some of these. The worry is if I can't complete these projects, which have started with AFMS and AFMC, I cannot start new projects. I cannot start new initiatives. And my request to the administration here is, please help us get approvals. Please help us so that we can complete these important projects and move on to better ones as we move forward, better and bigger ones. And of course, these are some points of action. I'll be happy to share the slides so that some action can be taken on our I do want to bring out an important initiative. We run a biodesign program at IIT Bombay, and this biodesign program is funded by DBT, but we've gone to alumni who are now willing to fund larger amounts, like I said, 10, 20, 30 million dollars. What do I do with that 10, 20, 30 million dollars? Can I train more people? And the biodesign fellowship is training doctors like you into device development, into technology development, into translation. Can I use your help to create more such sort of interface people, bioengineers as well as clinicians? So this is my medic fellowship. I just want you to see these. It's already online. The reason I bring these slides to you is that I have already written a proposal, and I'm closely sort of monitoring the funding, but the funding is going to come. And we want to set up a center here at AFMC Pune, which is going to be a satellite center of this Medic Biodesign Fellowship Program, which is a flagship program of IIT Bombay today, training many clinicians. You see some of your batchmates also. Surya Vardhan is an AFMS graduate, and Advay is an AFMS graduate. Both of these are MBBS graduates from AFMS. They've gone on to join this program, set up a startup, and become technologists. Can we also think similar? Can we also have more such people into the program? And of course, our goal is to do it over 5 years, train as many people as possible. I resonate with the government's view that the more we train people, the more we are going to have better and better and better sort of technologists in the country. And we'll continue doing that. So over the last few years, I'm finishing up 1 minute. We've trained several people. I come from a very small institute in the country, BRC Nagpur. I did my bachelor's of engineering from BRC Nagpur. I'm not an IIT graduate, and I regret not being able to go to IIT for my UG. But I am proud that today I'm part of the IIT system. But with that thing, I have a responsibility. I want to train interns in IIT Bombay because I want to give them that opportunity to train in an ecosystem which makes them think bigger. And we've trained, you see that, 250 people over the last 10 years or so, and we continue. Every year we train 20 to 30 students outside of the IIT system. And we not only guide PhD students, but we also file patents. You see the number of patents. I'm the only person in the entire Asia who has 250 plus filed patents and now at least 90 plus granted patents. Each one of these patents are high value patents. So thank you very much. But the country needs to be proud of people, its ecosystem, and I hope that if I can, show these numbers, there could be 10 more people who can show bigger numbers than these. And I hope that that day will come. We've set up startups, we've made impact, we've created jobs, we've impacted people. If I sitting in IIT Bombay can impact more than 1 million patients, one person can, 100 such people be able to impact, tens of crores of people. We've made products, we've actually commercialized them. We've showcased this at all places in the country, and the Honorable Prime Minister is proud of the work that these institutes are doing for the country, and we'll continue working for what we can do as impact. We've got several interactions, and we've got all these interactions with large companies who come put money into projects, but then they see impact coming out of these projects, and we continue doing that. And of course, no talk is complete without giving a gratitude to your mentors, and I always do that. I never forget that I am where I am because of my mentors first, my students, and whoever has sort of helped me along my journey. Of course, I thank Padma Bhushan late Dr. Manju Sharma madam. She just passed away last year, and we're very, very sad at her loss. Professor Padmanabhan, who just received the Vigyan Ratna along with me. When I got the Vigyan Shri, I was fortunate enough to get it when he got the Vigyan Ratna. And Dr. Sarup, who has, been a mentor to us. Let me also thank Admiral Aarti Sareen madam, who has been a huge supporter of this ecosystem, translational ecosystem. And she has supported me from day one that we have interacted with her. We continue getting guidance from her, and we hope that we can continue getting support from ma'am. So thank you very much, ma'am, for everything that you have done and where this country is because of services from you. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you, to all my students, and I hope that I have lived up to the honor of this oration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Srivastava, for just showing us a glimpse of the revolution that is already unfolding at your institution and the seeds of the revolution that is going to come. And we are very sure that the synergy between IIT Bombay, your own self, and the AFMS, there is only going to be a more and more traction coming out of the ideas and the initiatives that emerge from those collaborations. We are grateful to you for coming here and enlightening us.
Thank you, sir.
With giving us just a glimpse of the huge world that awaits all these minds and all these clinicians who are here for us to take it forward for the nation and for the people of the country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
May I request the audience to kindly rise as a token of appreciation for the Mjafi oration that we have just witnessed. Thank you so much. It's also a sober moment for the nation. At 11 o'clock, I request for a 2-minute silence for the father of the nation. So we shall be presenting the appreciation for the Mjafi oration after the 2-minute silence. May I request the DGFMS to kindly share her thoughts on what we have just witnessed by way of the oration?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Srivastava, I always call him Dr. Srivastava, Professor Srivastava. Vigyanshri, that's how we should address you. You really have brought a very, very lucid and a very, very explicit presentation of the work that you have been doing at IIT Bombay. And even before that, after your graduation and your experience in the United States and here, I was very fortunate to have met you several years ago. We've been exchanging ideas all through the years. And even it's really nice to see the way the country is going. The PGICMR, day before yesterday, also mentioned how we should also be a part of the validation studies and trials happening. We are looking on those lines. We shall take forward all the roadblocks that are coming in some of the clearances that you need to complete your projects. And I assure you that will be done. I hope the undergraduates today here have been inspired by Professor Srivastava's talk. We have to look forward, we have to plan ahead, and he can only do what we want. So we need to be really, really good at what we do to be able to tell him what we want, and then they can make what we want towards patient, care and patient safety of the highest order that we need to, present to this nation, both in terms of primary, secondary, as well as in tertiary care. That is what I really appreciate, that you're also looking at the primary level where, you can use many of your devices for screening. And I'm really, really thankful that you came. You truly deserve the Vigyanshri. Once again, just let us, in our usual manner, give him another round of applause and move further.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, sir.
So now I'd request the chairpersons to kindly felicitate Professor Rohit Srivastava. Thank you, sir. I'll request the dignitaries to kindly take their place in the audience.